Hello, everybody. It's me again, Coco D, and today we have Dickerson here, our expert gamer,
Good to be
to
back.
tell us his opinions on the whole Cyberpunk debacle. Not so much the game itself, I will gladly get him to do that at a later point, but more so what his thoughts is as somebody who's deep in the. Dickerson knows a good chunk about like game development and stuff, way more than I do.
Yeah, I excel. In the game industry in its entirety.
Uh, so Dickerson, as someone deeper than I am, I'm on the base level. I'm honestly mixed about it. The basic argument is, should they have all the fans to blame for them releasing it so early and it being broken as hell, or should are they in the wrong for releasing a broken game in general? Go.
All right. Okay. All right. So
I know this is a loaded question.
it is. All
I've been
right. It's
thinking
gonna be
about
fun.
it a lot myself because I was firmly on the like game developer side, but I was presented some solid arguments.
So I'm going to go on for a while. So let me know when you have questions. Please
Go
interrupt me.
for it. I'm just gonna
So
get comfortable.
yeah, please do. So, Cyberpunk obviously announced. Oh, what 2012, 2013. We have a good 7 years, 8 years since until release. The game has been hyped and hyped forever. And I just thinking of the memes of like, wake is Cyberpunk, like, like cryo sleep, like wake me up when Cyberpunk releases. Like everybody just losing their mind over this game. And it's just so funny to see what it turned into. Personally, Cyberpunk to me is whenever you see these overhyped like games being overhyped, they'll never live up to expectation. But I think Cyberpunk's in a different world in a way. So I think issues started coming about with the CD Project Red Twitter back a few years back they retweeted or liked a couple things that were transphobic things. They made some transphobic jokes and not great, really, really not good stuff. And they had to walk it back, of course. And so after a few more years, they did it like one more time. People started having the discussion of, hey, cyberpunk in general, just the genre itself, kind of handles like kind of deals a little bit with just trans rights and kind of like the future and where people fit in it. So is CD Project Red, these people who are like at least the Twitter account is transphobic, will they be able to, put how can they put this rightfully in their video game and do it justice? And I think the conversation, that's when they first CD Project Red first had their little PR bumps against them, and it really hit them. It was not great. It was bad. But I do think there was enough said from like artists and stuff. I think they were trying. They do really wanted to try to make sure they do like trans people justice. People are very quick to like jump on the bandwagon and hate them for it, and I totally get it. What the things they posted and stuff were awful, but I think the artists themselves, not the Twitter account, holder, were like seem more honest and upfront with how they like what they were trying to do, the people justice. So that was the first downfall. And then the delays kept happening and people just kept getting more and more angry at just the idea of not having the game. And then they released more recently in the last year, they released a trailer for the gangs that you fight throughout the game. And the gangs are all you have, your Hispanic gang, your Asian gang, just, generally racial inclined throughout the game. So, and that was when in the last year where you got more aggression towards you. Not as much, but it certainly didn't help. So a lot of people were calling the game xenophobic, racist, and just how it also deals in the cyberpunk setting. A lot of people were saying it's xenophobic because of the Japanese and Asian kind of influence that is inherently presented in cyberpunk media, and they were saying that was going to be treated poorly and led to more hatred towards the game. Thus, as they delayed one more time to December 10th, 2020, the hatred was at an all-time peak before, like, weeks before release. People were just fired up, ready to hate it. You know, a lot of people saying, I'm not going to buy this game, it's trash. A lot of people just, like, as soon as they delayed it, were like, okay, I'm done with supporting it. And sure enough, I bet you they all bought the game. But so then the release, December 10th happened, and whew, what a doozy. On the release, there was the epilepsy issue, and everyone's saying that, like, listen, I do not think that CD Projekt Red was inherently trying to give people seizures. I really don't think that was their goal. But unfortunately, one of the things that they quickly patched out at the near the, like, beginning of the game, there's a kind of certain things called brain dances, and there's scenes that do have flashing lights in them. And, you know, that is a trigger warning that could cause seizures for people with epilepsy. And they didn't have that in there. They just had the standard warning that, you know, accompanies all video games. And so a lot of people were like, hey, CD Projekt Red is trying to give people seizures. I do not think that is the case. They quickly patched it out, as anyone rightfully would, because that's not great. But it just adds to the PR disaster that continued to spiral. So the game was, and I remember that in the week before launch, Kotaku posted an article saying, hey, we still haven't seen the Xbox One and PS4 versions of this game. And that was very concerning. I never thought it would come out and run as poorly as it did, but I thought it would work. But apparently, like, just the fact that they don't is just atrocious. And then they have the release of Cyberpunk, and everyone who was already angry at it, like, just, you know, bandwagon more. And then people who were, you know, the majority of people who don't really play video games, mostly just casual, you know, your regular Twitter followers, your regular people who just kind of on the outside looking into video games, just like they buy this game, and because most people do not have next gen consoles, so when they buy this game and it doesn't work, you lose it. It's just everyone hates it. And goodness, they have since, now we're in the refund phase, and everybody is offering refunds for Cyberpunk now, which has never a thing been done before, and any, like, mass refunds.
Yeah, my favorite thing about that is the whole people getting refunds for it and then being upset that they don't get to keep the game as well, which baffles me for two reasons. A, why do you want to keep the game if it doesn't work? B, that's never in the history of refunds how refunds have worked.
Oh yeah, people are idiots. The fact that, but working at Target has taught me that these people quite exist. Not a uncommon thing. I should also mention the fact, this is probably one of the more important parts, is that the CD Projekt Red promised that they would not force their employees into crunch, and they did that, and, like, very harshly in the last few months. And that crunch is what directly led to the game being as broken as it is on the older console.
There's no scenario in which rushing anything at all produces good results.
Yeah, and it's just like, and we have the evidence of that now. So a lot of people are defending, you know, them treating their employees like crap. A lot of people were like, hey, you know, it's just how the company works. But, like, hey, look what it produced. You know, they had an internal memo, you know, it's like an internal meeting. They were like, hey, you know, this is all due to management and how they were treated, how their employees were rushed and treated so poorly that we got such a game that's broken and a weird mess. It's like, disclaimer, I really like the game. I really do. It's not the best thing I've played all year, but it's certainly, I really like the story. It's fun. There's a lot going for it. But man, you can see just the amount of glitches that aren't just regular open world glitches, but, like, things just like that really should have been fixed. They needed 6 more months. And I think if they might have seen that every time they delayed the game, people hated it more and more. And this is just a case of, you know, investors demanding a game being out by this fiscal year and them trying to get out for the holidays. it's like, no, it's not
Yeah,
good.
we
And
had Kingdom Hearts that made us wait 13 years.
so we have like we've experienced this before, and we always get worse games out of like how they treat Cyberpunk. We get worse games out of this, and I do think that this will be better for the industry. I do think the how Cyberpunk has been, the disaster that it has, the stock drops, the terrible PR, just all of this will, I think, inevitably lead to other companies treating their employees better and trying to avoid another Cyberpunk. Yes,
Which
the game.
honestly, in the gaming industry needs that. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
game developers have been underpaid and overworked for a very, very long time.
And it's like they just announced like hours ago that Cyberpunk has sold 13 million copies already, which is insane. The
Which
fact
now one of
go
the
on.
theories I heard that this has all been a PR stunt.
Oh God, it always is. It always
Now,
is. On.
in your honest opinion, just no judgment, do you think this was the developer's fault for rushing it out, or the fans' fault for rushing them?
I think no, it was
I think it's a mix of all of the. Everyone just needs to chill.
it's management. It's like, upper management of the like games. They force like this game has to be out by this certain time because of investors, because of people who have money, the stake in it. It's it all comes back to money. I'm sure like part of the reason they didn't want to delay it anymore. Yeah, sure. Like, and the thing is, you could have delayed it 6 months and it still would have sold 13 million copies in a week. Totally. But I do think the hatred and vitriol was increasing more and more.
Now,
I
see,
don't.
that's the other thing I want to touch on. Look here, threatening the lives of game developers is the equivalent of threatening to call corporate on a cashier. It turns out we don't got that kind of power. Like there's nothing. If a boss tells an employee to do something, short of losing their job, there's not much they can do.
Yeah,
So sending a game developer death threats isn't gonna get you what you want.
yeah.
Not any more than threatening a cashier to call corporate if they don't give you something for free.
Like just
Uh,
newsflash, they don't care. Like they really don't care what you say. Like you
yeah,
don't.
no, they don't get paid enough to care.
They're
Trust
not.
me.
Yeah,
So yeah,
they are
just
not going to change your mind based on what people say.
Pretentious Nerd PSA. Gamers chill. Like first, that's a discussion we're gonna have later. But like real talk, all of y'all need to chill. Like a lot. Games are games. Like this whole jumping people for PS5s, y'all chill.
Oh, God. Yeah,
Chill.
that's a conversation of itself for sure. Just the
Oh, that's gonna we're gonna have that conversation. I want Kigley in for that one. The fact that I had to escort somebody to their car because they were scared they were gonna get jumped is ridiculous. Now, in your opinion, I'm excited for the Cyberpunk anime because Trigger's doing it, and Trigger's something I know about, and I know that Trigger is the studio that they brought us Gurren Lagann, what I think is the greatest thing to ever be produced by mankind, as well as Kill la Kill and the movie Promare. Trigger's gaining some clout, and they have another movie coming out soon. I think that if COVID wasn't a thing, was supposed to hit theaters in America.
I don't know if it's the same director as the Gurren Lagann guy again. He definitely has that style.
Now having Trigger behind them, Trigger's gotten some clout. They're gonna when that name drops, some people get excited. People in my world, obviously, but they get excited. Do you think, even with all the mess with Cyberpunk, once that anime drops, the sales are going to rocket again? And do you think by then they'll have most of their mess together?
So yeah, I think by the time the anime drops, probably they'll time it to around if they can. I think they'll try to time it around the anime. Um, so we still we still don't have the copies that we have are the Xbox One and PS4 versions of the game, but they don't run on well on those systems. The games and like the PS4 version barely runs on PS5, the Xbox One version runs pretty dang well on the Xbox Series X. So I think the next gen versions of the game will release around the time of the anime, and I think when those versions of the release, they'll be more akin to the PC version, which means playable and looks pretty good. So I think they'll try
I personally am waiting for the next gen version of it. I really want to play Cyberpunk, but especially after hearing all this, I probably won't pick it up until it drops on the PS5.
honestly, yeah, as someone who is, right at the end of the game and like just and playing through it and playing on the Xbox Series X version, and it looks great. It really runs super well. Every time I see a PC screenshot, I get sad because it looks so much better on PC, and so it will look like that. In my opinion, I do think they'll get it closer to PC by the time, on the next gen console versions. Then that will be the right time to play it, and it will be a dang good game then, probably even with the glitches fixed and stuff. So,
Well, so it seems the final verdict is management kind of screwed everyone, and
yeah,
gamers need to chill.
gamers
Uh,
always chill. That's just the PSA.
yeah. But in short, according to Dickerson, it's a good game when it plays. So hopefully, when the next gen drops, I'll play it myself, and we will have the Cyberpunk that we want.
It's really, yeah, it's a great game. So man, when 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 it actually works, look forward to it.
Well, as always, Dickerson, thank you for your time, your knowledge, your expertise. I appreciate you.
Of course, love to be here.
And as always, until next time, my friend, you take care.
You too. See ya.